is Europe's largest fruit trade show. As you can see behind me, I'm going to hold the screen. We're sitting up in the building. There's approximately 23 halls here and over 73,000 attendees today alone. So it's quite a crowd here. Tom and I have been roaming the halls along with Marina, who's actually still out in meetings today. We've met with retailers, wholesalers, distributors throughout not only the Ladana network of growers, but really talking to several people, growers, packers. This is where everything comes together and where people come to do not only a lot of business, but shop supplies, work on logistical pricing. We've been meeting with air freight providers from different airlines, different fruit brokerages, and also some box suppliers that we're working on trying to get better quality and also better pricing, of course, which goes to our bottom line. That's the most important thing. So so I'm gonna just carry on throughout. One thing that we found interesting here that everybody's been asking us about is what's going on with the coronavirus. We actually got an email from Fruit Logistica that was kind of raising this attention. It's on everybody's mind, but the show has done a phenomenal job of making sure that there is really no contamination here. There are hand washing kits every 5 feet, and we actually had to sign a disclaimer that we had not visited any area of China with the infected population there for contamination. So we really, we've seen nothing. We actually interacted with some folks from the Chinese desk here, no issues. And we really don't see it being anything that's going to disrupt at least the fruit supply here in Europe, maybe in other parts of the world. So going on to talk more about pineapple first, I think is where we should start today. We have, as everyone knows that's involved with the Panama Golden Pineapple Project, we came to market last year here at Fruit Logistica for the first time in February. Working with the Vergara family over the last 3 years has been an incredible learning experience. It's really helped our understanding of the movement of goods. Now, we started out last year primarily selling directly to importers. The import relationships, they serve a purpose, and they're typically for full container loads, also importing for those people who don't have a freight forwarding relationship in Holland, or in Madrid or France or any of the other inbound air freight destinations. We really, over the 6 months we really started into the business last year, we realized that selling in the import channels was not going to be really viable for us because we are doing more volume. We have the resources to be able to further develop. And with what Farmfolio is doing with its developments, a distribution channel and really a vertically integrated system was really inevitable for us. So we have in early 2019, we finalized our agreement with the Vergara family to purchase the majority stake in the Ladana brand, which was cultivated by Edna Vergara over the last 12 years, really inspired by her and really defines what we're doing here and helping properly capitalize farming operations, creating packing opportunities, and really opportunities throughout the supply chain. And that has been a success. We went to market under that brand and really set up our own distribution in July. We've been pretty much all over Europe. We've now, I think, have distribution in most of the developed countries in Western Europe now, starting to get into Eastern Europe and Russian markets through some of our partners. And, those people are here at the show. So we've been really able to develop this in a very short period of time, 6 months, 7 months since we really started humming with our production. Going through the numbers on the shipments, we just finalized our distribution payments and those just went out to our investors in PGP. But looking at the case counts and what we were able to do in an El Nino year, we were able to really salvage a very good year going into the fourth quarter last year. So our objective when we started in the business was between 15 and 20% of our entire pineapple farms production going to the air business. Today, that's sitting at 35%. So we've grown that business really organically, going out, knocking on doors, visiting wholesale markets. Now we're into retail relationships in Switzerland, Italy, and working on some other, actually in Germany as well. So we're working on French relationships and developing that. Marina's out meeting with several retailers today and yesterday from Scandinavia.
Well, we did actually get an agreement with a French retailer, so that will be moving forward now. On the
Okay,
next available
that's excellent. Yep, I think that was a new development today. So that's great. I mean, we are oversubscribed at the moment for what we're doing with PGP. Now, our ratios of production in terms of, as we mentioned, was around 65, 35 to container fruit to the air freight fruit. But, really, when you talk about the growth and the cyclical times of the year, that was something that we really had to learn last year. What are the times to be in the market? When should we be lowering our production? And that's really going to help us achieve a higher margin on the cases that we have, because we have a limited area to plant. Right now we have approximately 65 effective hectares in either development, seeding, or rotation and resting. So when you look at our projection, our original projections were based around 300,000 cases, or around that number. We're still receiving harvest from what was originally scheduled for the first year's production. Why? Well, El Nino was particularly severe, not only in Panama, but Costa Rica, Colombia. Everyone experienced those effects. Now, we didn't lose that crop. We actually just pushed that schedule forward. So it was a 3 to 4 month extension into the year, and we're starting to realize that now. We do expect that to be harvested by early April and to close out that, and that really pushes our whole schedule forward. So in terms of case counts this year, we're probably projecting very close to what we projected originally. We did do an expansion last year. That's in development, so that will probably spill into 2020 as well, because it's going to push us forward. Now, Paul has taken measures at the farm to really combat some of these challenges. I think the farm team's ability to manage weather conditions has grown just as much as our distribution knowledge here. So it's a work in progress, especially with what we're doing with the air market. So, things are looking good. Pricing is improving in European markets. We are, when we look at what we were compared to August, which is really the down season for pineapple, because you're competing with berries, red fruits, a lot of things that are in the markets and that are harvested locally in European markets during that time period, there's not quite as much demand for pineapple. So now we're in the winter months, everyone sees this beautiful golden pineapple, and there's an excess of demand, and that's why we're seeing the oversubscription to what we have available. But we are working with some local growers to be able to supplement our production and start to scale that as well, and continue to develop this stream. Now, the Chinese market also is something that's going to be new for us. Last year, we did learn a lot about the production cycle, and we need to be looking at alternative markets.
Yes.
From really probably July to early October. And China is a real hot topic right now in Panama because of the free trade agreement. And a lot of Chinese are showing up looking for fruit. So we're going to start some trials in March and really start that program and solidify that. Hopefully, probably 35 to 40% of our production going into the summer months will look to that market as well. In terms of, I want to just jump over to Valle Verde for a minute, because this is our lime project. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, Colombian Limes is something that we launched the idea of several years ago, and it's recently come to fruition due to an opportunity that we saw for packing, very similar to what we did with the timber business in Monteria. There are several lime farms in the region of Antioquia, Quindío, Ibagué, and even down into the coastal regions that really don't have a Caribbean-based export opportunity. And that's where we came up with the idea to put a sophisticated export quality packing facility in Apartado, Colombia. So today, as you can imagine, and yesterday, we've been having lots of conversations with our existing customers as well as developing new relationships, trying to explore how far we can go into the market with this product. So, Tom, you had a chance to meet with several customers over the last 2 days. Why don't you give us a little insight on the lime market?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting to actually sit down and meet with a whole range of people throughout Europe. This is a fairly quiet time in the lime market, as you can appreciate. We're in the heart of winter here, February in Northern Europe. So limes just simply aren't as much in demand as they would be in some, from what we have spoken to people about today, it's all about getting orders in place for when we're going to be heaviest in the market, which is June, July and August time, which is fantastic for us because that's when we're going to experience the biggest price. As is the case with pineapple, it is something that you have to be in the market for 52 weeks of the year. You can't simply tiptoe and dance in and out of this and expect it long. Sometimes you benefit from higher pricing. And, we saw pricing only in the third week of December, sitting at around about €9.50 a box. Now we're right at what I would say is the lowest point of the market. We're seeing prices in the range of around €4.50, €4.75. So if you look at our production schedule there, our planned forecast for 2020, we are quite heavy in production in December, which is a nice small peak period. Then we see some drop off in the market in January and February, also going into March, which is not when we want to be heavy in the market. And then as we start to get through sort of Easter time, through spring and summertime here, that's when we start to hit peak production. And, dependent on supply and demand dynamics, prices, during that period of the year can go as high as €12 a box, €16 a box. You can see crazy prices of 18 to 20 euros. So, over the year, we look to balance out and have an average, going back to the farm of approximately $4.50, which is where we need to be in order to achieve our numbers back to investors.
And that's exactly right. I mean, let's talk a little bit more detail about the financial aspect of Valle Verde, right? Because we're now here in the market. We have already sent our first container of limes from Colombia in December. Now, a lot of the things that we started to understand about the market is the size by region. And this is an exercise that we went through with pineapple last year as well. You've got, for example, in pineapple, you have size 5s that go all the way to 10. Yeah. Every market has a preference on what size and color they like. Limes is no different. So you really have to establish with each customer first, what sizes do you buy? What's acceptable? What certifications do you need? And, is there a social component? Now, what we've also heard a lot about is the social certifications are really important here in Europe as well as the US. And in order to hit the retail markets, having some type of social component into whether the farms or the packing facility is going to be very important. We've already started that process. As many of you know, we've already started with the agronomical plan. Eduardo and our team in Colombia are already working with a team of 5 growers representing approximately 250 hectares right now in growing to get the global gap, which is really the foundation. That's really the standard. That's non-negotiable. And then adding smeta and potentially grasp as a component to global gap. So these are all the things that we're doing ahead of time now. I mean, we've started this process more than, I think 3 months ago. We really started with the agronomical plan and are well into the global gap certification. So every project that we launch, we're getting better and faster and anticipating anything that's going to come up. Now, obviously there are challenges, things are out of our control in terms of production, but in terms of, if you look at the windows in Colombia, the peak periods, we have assumed that we're really only producing on our financials. And I'm gonna pull that up just for a second to walk through, a little bit of that information. So you can see, if you take a look, January, February, these are the down months, really only the high altitude areas of Colombia are harvesting at that point.
Yeah, leave the slide up for a minute because I want to talk a little bit about the size distribution. So,
Right.
very straightforward, without complicating without complicating anything. You would have seen on the previous slide there that you had various sizes: 36, 42s, 48s, 54s, and 60s. Those just indicate the amount of pieces, amount of limes that you can get into a box. So the diameter is bigger. Now, different markets like different limes. So, as an example, we're in Berlin. I went to see one of our pineapple customers up here prior to coming to the show. And, some of the hardest fruit that we had placing when we took in some of our trial containers in Rotterdam, particularly over Christmas time, were the smaller limes, the size 60s. So, okay, where are we going to be able to place that fruit? Where can we find a home for that? Well, when I went and met with the German customer here recently, in Germany, they favor the smaller limes, the size 60, which is a great outlet for us. What's very important here in the European market is the color. That's how people associate a really good lime, and they want a really green lime. That's the association that they have. In in the US, where you have, maybe a much higher population of Latinos that are used to having, limes that are, not always dark green, then there's a much better home for those there in the US. And we have customers there to place those. And then the juice content. And, again, some countries will like limes that are really juicy. In Northern Europe, UK and Germany, they like around about 45% juice. So it's much more important for them, the skin color, as opposed to having a really juicy lime. And that's how we place our fruit.
Well, let's talk about volumes of production, because
Yes.
I think this is a really important point to note in the financials. We have established now that Colombia is a year-round producer. We have farms now that we can source from, both conventional and organic, in some of the higher altitude areas up in the mountains, and Santander, Armenia, Ibagué, some of those areas. Now, if you look at our projections, we've been fairly conservative with not only the efficiency. So our machine has a capacity, our packing line has a capacity of 1 million kilos. We've assumed a 50% efficiency ratio with that, which, that would represent approximately 20 containers a month. So we're assuming half of that, which is approximately 500,000 kilos. So we're talking about 10, which is, really 2.5 or so containers, very manageable. Absolutely. From the conversations we've had. And we've actually seen other exporters in Colombia who are doing at that volume or better actually now. And 100% of that product is committed to one customer. Yeah. So, this is a staple product. I mean, it's very similar to other citrus categories like oranges. Yeah. It's used in daily use. Now, there are peak pricing periods, Tom mentioned earlier, but I just want people to see that we're really only assuming that we're in production for 7 months here, which, there's so many gaps in that will actually be filled, I think. And in terms of timing, what we learned also this week, which I was very thrilled about, is peak time for lime. Yeah, syncs right up with Colombia. That's right. We're coming into market in May, June, July, August. Well, it's summertime. Everybody's, they've got cold beverages, and the consumption just goes up. You've got a lot of European travel going on with foreign tourists coming in. So that's something we weren't quite anticipating. And, I thought it was going to be more into the fall months that we'd see those park, but it's throughout the summer, which is fantastic for us.
It's great timing. And, Brazil and Mexico dominate the lime space. We had faced a similar challenge with bringing pineapple from Panama when we came to market. Everybody said, no, Costa Rica, and we've proven the brand. We've proven that we've had a great product. And, Colombia is really hot right now. There's a lot of support behind Colombia in terms of their agricultural sector. Everybody is happy with the origin of Colombian lime. There's some nice characteristics that Colombian limes have that are not seen in Mexico and Brazil. A thinner skin, which is very important, particularly used in food industries. And like Dak said, the period where we're coming to market unlike when we came to market in pineapples, which was very challenging to start with. We go into it with a much stronger sense of confidence because we have customers already in place, and we're much better prepared than when we were first time around, that we know where the sizes need to go, where we're going to be in the market, and we have customers for those. So, we're really excited to be able to come in June, July, August, get off to a really good start, and have a home for what in essence is not a great deal of supply for me to be able to try and move here in Europe. We showed the slide there with 20 cases. Don't forget, not all of that is for the export market, 20 containers rather. So, if I'm looking on a monthly basis of somewhere between 10 and 15 containers, 2 to 3 a week, I'm confident on all the conversations that we've had throughout the last 2 days that we can fulfill that and possibly, quite possibly, have a shortage there where we're now having to go out and source further line.
Yeah, that's right. And it really is about building partnerships, and that's the thing that we've been able to accomplish very quickly. We have a great story and a brand story, and I think that really adds to the value. But let me just give everybody an update on the status of the facility in Colombia. I was out at the packing site 2 weeks ago doing a site visit just to check on construction status and everything. Things are moving on time. We actually got notification from CIU, which is our equipment manufacturer in Uruguay, Mexico, that our packing line is complete. We'll be ready to ship here in the next couple of weeks, and it will arrive well ahead of schedule. As many remember, we went through a little bit of a delay with the manufacturer, Buroteca, so we wanted to anticipate any issues and make sure that we had the machine in country when the facility was ready. So I've got some pictures. This is actually a photo that I took, a drone photo that I took a couple of weeks ago. We've already advanced pretty significantly beyond this. The foundation is being finalized simultaneously as we're building the walls. And once the roof is put on, we can start our ECA certifications, which is the precursor to finalizing our global gap and also getting our organic certification, as well as our SMETA certification, which will obviously make us more competitive in the markets and getting into retail space. So
what I'd say on that photo as well, it may not look, amazing right now. For anybody that's followed us throughout our whole Farmfolio journey, and particularly Buroteca, we've shown pictures like this in the past. People come back, 3 or 4 months later, and we've got product going out the door. So keep an eye on this, because within no time, this will be a structure that's up and running with a wow factor.
Every couple of weeks, we'll start posting new photos, but this is the dry season. This was actually taken at the end of the day, but in the middle of the day, there's probably 40 people out here working on a daily basis, and you're going to see this structure probably the roof going on sometime end of March, which is right on schedule. We'll start our equipment installation mid to late April. Training first 2 weeks of March once the equipment's in, and ideally getting the first exports out the door by the end of May. So, I think we're in good shape with that. Even we'll probably have our certification sometime in June, but the initial containers will probably be going to our wholesale relationships, which don't require the certifications on social as much. Really meant for restaurants and commercial type distribution. So everything looking good with this project. We're thrilled. Can't wait to get online with Lime. I can't wait to be here next year with Lime because it's such a different experience, as we know, with showing up with product here. And we'll be at the Madrid show, which will be our first real European marketing campaign, and starting to develop those and extend those channels. So all good with that. So I want to introduce the newest member of our team, who I think is on the call. Roman, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Hi, everybody.
Awesome. I've got my volume turned down a little bit, so I'm going to turn up. Sorry, hang on one second. Let me just put our microphone here on mute on 1 second. Give me 1 second, Roman. All right, I think I can hear you now. Getting a little bit of feedback. I think Tom, if you can kill that. All right, so I want to introduce the newest member of our team, Roman Gaus, who is based in Switzerland. Roman, pleasure to have you today. Appreciate you joining us. And I think you're in Hamburg right now. We were crossing in the air, I'm sure, on the way here, but we had a great week together last week in Colombia, and we've got great things ahead of us. So let me just give a little background on Roman. Roman comes to us from a multitude of financial and ag tech related skill sets. Roman is, as I mentioned, based in Zurich. We actually met a couple of years ago. It's amazing how things progress and evolve, and you plant seeds and you never know where a tree is going to pop up later. But we met in Zurich 2 years ago, and we've stayed in touch via LinkedIn, actually. And I think a LinkedIn comment actually started this this new journey that we're on, and we're really excited to have Roman on board. Roman, welcome to the team, and welcome to
Thank you.
your first official webinar, Farmfolio.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining.
Yep. So I'm going to have Roman just talk a little bit about the last week. We spent the last 5 or 6 days last week, actually right up until I left to go back to Europe. And we went to the coconut farm. We went to Buroteca. We spent some time in the office really strategizing on how we're going to get to the next level with scale. And Roman is going to be focused not only on investment, but on strategy related to our digital platform, and really starting to bring in some new ideas and some new things that we really had on the books for a long time that have just gotten neglected. But Roman, if you will, tell us a little bit about the trip last week. What did you think?
Right. Wonderful. So first of all, thanks for the intro, and I'm very happy to meet your investors and everybody who was on this call personally or for email and follow-ups later in the week or next week. Yes. So last week was a pure bliss. I mean, I can tell you, I had a lot of fun and I was impressed. I mean, I've been at farms before and I've seen many operations, and I've been running my own farm business, and I can tell you, I mean, I got very impressed with the executional excellence, the proficiency, the speed at which DAX and Farmfolio have been moving over the last couple of years. It's quite impressive. And I think the level of forward integration that this company has taken, not only just by building and owning and operating farms, but then actually extending that into the value chain of sales, distribution, marketing, brand, logistics. I mean, this is really truly exciting to build a globally scalable business model for agribusiness. And I was looking for this type of cases really for a number of years. And I think the second part, which really I believe in, is this investability of farms as an asset class. So I truly believe agriculture is a separate asset class that should be in the asset allocation of qualified investors for both a risk return profile, but also from an ESG, so an environmental, social, and governance factor. I truly believe farm investing is part of a sustainability scorecard that investors will look out for, especially large family office investors that already are investing in the number of asset classes, but have limited access and expertise in sourcing deals in agriculture. So what's really needed, I think, is a player, an intermediary like Farmfolio that can elevate project finance to a level where it becomes investable. That's really what Farmfolio has been demonstrated to do over the last couple of years. Run those businesses professionally and in a way to generate cash flow for the operator and for the business owners, for the investors, and then scale that into a model where I believe every additional SPV or investment that we're going to see is going to also create a network effect for the entire business. So whether that's sales distribution, the sawmill, Buroteca, I think it all lines up into this vertical integration model that you guys are pursuing. So, I mean, first of all, kudos to Dax and the team.
It's been so great to have you so far. We're really we couldn't be more excited about the partnership, and I think everybody out there, what you're going to see is some of the things that we really started to get into last week, almost right out of the gate, is the evolution of the platform that we've created. I mean, we've been focused really in one particular category, the equity style investments. We have some very big things coming this year with the development an extension of something that we've really started a foundation for. And I think as we put it last year, we've built up to the second story of the building, and we have 98 to go. So
Right.
I'm really excited to have Roman on board to lead that development, and his skill set just matches up absolutely perfect. Just to shed a little more light on that, Roman actually founded a company based in Switzerland that was focused on urban farm development. So his expertise also on the ag, not only ag but ag tech, is really going to speed up the process, and you'll see a lot more coming out from Roman. But he's also going to be helping us with investor relation and strategy and capital raising development. Has a lot of background in venture capital. I know that we've experienced a lot of growth in our investor base recently. More family offices, institutions are starting to show interest with what we're doing, and we've got some opportunities even in the debt space that I think you'll see coming later this year. And as we start to formalize that, we'll start sharing that, and we'll have many updates coming in the next year. So, Roman, I'd love to get your thoughts and just share from people. I mean, we've been so ingrained, and everyone is typically hearing from myself or Oscar or Tom based on the projects. I mean, from a new person coming in, really, I know your background in the venture capital space and institutional space. It would be great to hear your perspective on the Valle Verde project. Baroteca, if you can share anything, initial thoughts. I mean, just
Right.
giving everybody kind of an outsider's perspective now that you're just coming in.
Yes, glad. I mean, look, I think the Baroteca risk return profile is different than the Valle Verde project. The teak market is probably a bit more volatile, but I think you're covering an excellent spot in the value chain here with that sawmill that actually can take in, otherwise relatively low value timber or teak that you can valorize with the sawmill and actually export. So I think the key value add of the sawmill I see as a relatively stable cash flow business. The Valle Verde logistics operation has a similar risk return profile, but will probably have a little less volatility on the pricing side, and that goes both ways, right? So a bit more, less upside, but also less downsides. And I think from a operational point of view, both operations neatly fit into your strategy. They're not overly complex to run. The operational risks, I think you have under your control and you can manage those. And the logistical component where those farms or where those operations are located is just ideal, I think, from a efficiency point of view. So I think it's a hard bet for me to say which one is better, or I do both investments, frankly. But I think we will, we're very happy about both investments over the long term.
Well, Roman is now available to everybody to if you have new questions or you want a new perspective on it. I think Roman's going to bring a whole new dimension to the project evaluations that we're really excited about with the analysis, and really formalizing that package, and giving people a resource to be able to bounce ideas off of. So, Roman, I appreciate you joining us. I know that you're tuning in from another meeting in Hamburg, but I'm going to be sharing Roman's contact information with everybody after today's webinar. And if you have questions for Roman directly, happy to, I'm sure he'll be happy to field those. Roman at farmfolio.net is now live. So welcome to the team, my friend. Look forward to a great future together.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
All right. All right, so I'll go ahead and open it up for a quick Q&A session here. So if anybody has any questions related to Fruit Logistica or anything else, let's go ahead and chat those in, and we'll wrap up today's meeting. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any questions this evening. We're going to pack it up. As you can see behind me, it's getting a little late here. We're going to head out of the show, and we'll be back tomorrow and look forward to following up. Okay, we have a quick question. Okay, what is the expected return for 2020 on the pineapple investment? Sal, thanks for the question. We are finalizing something out. Our annual reports will be coming out along with the forward projections for this year. But keep in mind on PGP, this was our first year, 2019, of entering the market. We are still operating without a receivables line of credit. We're purely financing this on our own, so we're not losing any margin, and we want to keep it that way as long as we possibly can without having to diminish our returns. And we also have a significant balance of tax incentive credits, which is a big piece of the Panamanian agriculture landscape. If you remember, pineapple has a 28-cent per kilo export incentive. Those are tax credits that are marketable credits. We've actually already sold a portion of those in December. We will continuously be selling those as they're issued, but that will take time as we cannot really market those until we get the resolution issued from the Department of Agriculture. So once those returns start to come in, I think you're going to see things normalize at a double-digit, depending on which round of funding you're in, or low double digits to mid double digits as we approach, full output with the full tax credits being paid. Now, we can't handicap when those are going to be issued by the government, but all signs are pointing towards, with the recent election in Panama, commitment to the agriculture sector and speedy issuance of those. And by speedy, I mean 12 months. So we'll happy to share more information on that. Tom, any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say on that, Sal, is like Dax said, we will formalize the returns that are going to go out to investors. When we came into the market in August, as I mentioned earlier, we found it very tough. What I will say is we finished the year really strong. Where our initial projections were somewhere in the region of around 30 pallets of air freight pineapple per year on the first
week
on the first projections, we were coming in at around 50, 60 right through from November all the way through December, and it's carried on all the way through the year. Our pricing on that has been very strong. Being at the show this year, it's my third year at the show. If I look back, first year we were here trying to drum up investment into the pineapple farm from some of the distributors. The second year we were here last year, we were, absolutely hammering it, looking for customers. From my perspective here this year, taking care of distribution, a large majority of my time spent here is, number one, just meeting with existing customers and saying how, everything's going well. But really, I've been spending a lot of time this year with logistical companies. That includes airlines, freight forwarders, trucking companies, box companies, to apply labels, and we're really now streamlining down that business.
It's efficiency. I mean, the price is virtually the price, and you have to grab your margin from every small little pocket you can, and that's what we're doing, and that's really part of our process. But we expect 2020 to be a better year. Again, we're going to be in a full year of production. We didn't even start harvesting until February of last year. So looking at the projections compared to last year, we should be outperforming, assuming there are no issues with drought. I don't think we have. There's definitely not an El Nino year this year. We've actually been getting rain in the dry season, which is very positive, and should make for hefty yields, maybe even better than we projected originally. Another question, Rod, do you anticipate any going beyond 35% air freight mix? Absolutely. We are absolutely gearing up to try to go maybe even 50 to 60% air freight. The demand, Rod, is there. We're literally having to turn people away. I mean, we can't, we're having to allocate certain portions and take from other customers to supply others. So it's one of these things. That's why we're trying to supplement. We're even considering buying from other growers to fulfill some of the demand and some of these peak markets. But we thought it was going to be only really around the peak seasons, which is the holiday season, Easter, some of these global holidays that you are going to have that opportunity. But the reality is the quality of what we produce it's top. And the demand is there, and if we continue to develop these retail relationships at the speed we are, and some of these other strategic partnerships, there's no reason why we can't get to 50-60% of the farm, which would be a very heavy case count. We did negotiate recently with our air carriers new credit lines. We didn't get extensions. We get 30 days on payment terms with them, but we have gotten our air credit line up to 250,000, which is very important for us as we're going through these production cycles, because our payments from our customers is typically 45 days.
Keep us going for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's the one, some of those things are the things you have to anticipate. You can't just immediately flip it on, and the farm has to be managed in that air freight just a little bit differently. But Paul's prepared to do it, and he's very excited about it, as are we.
And some of the things that we've done to try and get that air freight business up from 35%, like everything that we've done, we've been fairly prudent in our approach to managing this. So when we started off with Paul, okay, let's take 10 pallets in a week. How is that absorbed into the market? Are we doing everything correctly? Okay, that's working. Let's push it up to 15 pallets, 20 pallets. That's how we went on. Like I said, for about the last 6 weeks of the year, we were doing between 50 to 60 pallets consistently, and we could have gone beyond that. How do we get above that 35%? We have to start looking at our flights out of Panama. Sometimes we can be a little bit limited in terms of cargo space, particularly getting out over the weekend to get it into Europe so we can get that shipped out on a Monday or a Tuesday. So we've been opening up our routes now. We have direct flights out of Panama to Paris, Amsterdam, and also Madrid.
And Frankfurt.
And Frankfurt. A large majority of what we've been doing has been going through Rotterdam, because it's just a fantastic, Amsterdam and then Rotterdam, it's a fantastic hub. But we've been able to negotiate heavily down based on our volume now to open up new routes to Madrid and also to Paris, which will give us additional airspace that we can then start to push that 35% up.
Second half of that question we didn't answer. Can the farm even put out higher percentage of the quality needed for this market? Yes. I mean, to follow up on that, yes. It's part of the agronomical plan. I mean, Paul can do it, and we can do it in a fairly short amount of time. But the thing is you have to ensure you have the orders, because once you begin to ripen, this is really plant ripened fruit is what makes it differently. Once we start down that path, there's no going back. So you don't want to ripen fruit until you're sure. And now we're sure that the market is there and it's going to be there. And our plans on air freight with our current customers are carrying for the rest of the year now. So I think yesterday we probably secured a little over 200,000 boxes alone of fruit. The reason why we wouldn't be higher than that right now is because we really can only look 6 to 8 months in advance of what our true harvests are going to be. So we can't overcommit and take those orders beyond that time period, because that's when the plant is induced. And, we have an exact timing on, it's 180 days basically from the time that you induce the plant to time it comes to harvest. So
we said no to more people than we said yes to. Yes.
We have, yeah. We could have probably sold double this quarter what we did, and we will prepare for that next year, and make sure that we are properly scaled and again potentially sourcing from other farms as well in order to meet the demand.
Question come in there about the limes.
Yeah, so we got, how did the sale of December shipments of limes go? Actually, the sale of December limes was good. It was based on sizing. So, we sent pretty much all sizes, because at this point we weren't exactly sure which sizes were going to go to which markets. Now, the price in Colombia, the local price, was actually very high at the time that we purchased. And so was the market price here. You had a range of, anywhere between 4 up to 12, depending upon the size. We had orders at price. I think we had a couple in France for 9. We had a couple. We had several in Italy, between 7 and 8. Now, some of the things that we didn't take into account when we shipped originally is we have got to have the agronomical plan and ensuring the testing is being done on the fruit. There are banned chemicals. We had one particular pallet that was sent to a customer that was rejected. We were able to resell that, but it wasn't allowed to be sold within the EU. It actually had to be sold outside because the EU is the one regulating the controls on that. So that's a good lesson to learn at this point. Pretty much no damage on this, and great learning experience, and really a great opportunity to get some trials going. And the thing is customers, they want to work with you. They want to, if you can be a consistent supplier, they are willing to invest the time into giving you all of the tips and things that they need, because for them, once the business is established, like pineapple, it's plug and play. I mean, we bring in the fruit, they unload it, they send it to their customer, boom, it's done. And that's an important setup to have, and it makes everybody's volumes higher. And when you're working in a low margin business, like being a wholesaler or retailer, that's important because it's about turnover.
And just to let you know, we actually received the container in. We had a delay with scan, which is not unusual for fruit coming from Colombia, Panama. And that container actually arrived in Rotterdam, or we received it into our warehouse December 24th.
Yeah,
we had
that was the other. Yeah, we were a Christmas delivery, which the wholesale markets in Europe virtually closed for 3 days.
Yeah,
there's no fruit receipt. So, I mean, we were able to overcome that. The good news also is the shipping time that we have. It's 12 days.
Really good.
From Cartagena to Rotterdam. That's faster than our Panama routes. 14 days with pineapple. So 12 days. Lime has a longer shelf life than pineapple. So, in terms of product age, this is a much easier product to manage because pineapple, like we were talking about with the color fruit, it has to be turned over so quickly. And, we have to pre-sell that. With limes, we can bring the product in 2 weeks solid, no problem with storage.
Pineapple doesn't even touch the floor now in our warehouse. Gets received, comes in, it goes straight out the door. And then with the limes, it was a similar story. Came in on Christmas Eve, which I believe was on a Tuesday this year. And Friday, it was the 27th. I was kind of really ready to get out of the gate after my Christmas dinner, and up early. It's an early business now, the fruit business. I've had to sort of transition things around, 5-6 a.m. and we had everything start to go out at that point. So it was a challenge, but it's something that we took in on our stride. And like I said, we really approach with confidence now, when we're going to come to market in earnest with limes in the heavy price periods where demand is high, June, July, August. So, we're really sort of excited to get going with that.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. We'd really like to appreciate everybody coming in today, this afternoon. I know it's a little early in the U.S. for a webinar, wherever you may be. But
cocktail time now, right?
Yeah, I think it's
KLM party.
We're going to go sweet talk KLM and try to get some better rates. So we'll be in touch. You'll see some more updates coming out following the show. But thanks everybody for the participation. Again, Roman.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Also, big thanks to Oscar. He's posted up in Monteria this week, working on the follow-up to his India trip. So we'll have some information coming out about Buroteca and updating some of the new things that are going on. I know we have great momentum. We're almost sold out, I believe, fully reserved on the Buroteca expansion. So if you have interest in that or in Valle Verde, which is also nearing the end, go ahead and reach out to Roman. Roman is going to be the point of contact at this time, as operations has really become the focus of our team based in Colombia. And we will distribute Roman's contact information as well. But again, thanks everybody, and have a pleasant day wherever you are, or a pleasant evening. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.